everyone. Welcome to this new episode for KCrush American Magazine. I am your host, film critic and journalist Carolyn Hinds. And today I'm joined by two very lovely actresses. First is Ramesha Nawal, who played the character of Miriam, and Bakhtawar Mazhar, who played her mother, Faria, in the film In Flames by Zahrar Khan. And I love this film. And I love the fact that this film is very female-centered and is very much talking about the relationships between mothers and doctors. And also I think about the secrets that daughters keep from their mothers, but also the secrets that mothers keep from their daughters. But first, I want you to talk about a bit. I want both of you to talk a bit about joining this project, because Ramesha, I know that you this was, I think, your first major film role. So talk to me about being cast for the film, and what was it about the character of Miriam that made you say, you know what, I want to play this character?
So this is actually my first time in front of the camera, and this is my first time, yeah, first film role. And then I was 4 months into doing theater, and I came across my friend kind of sent WhatsApped me to the casting call of this film, and I auditioned for this. I think it was around the COVID time, so we didn't do any in-person auditions. It was all in self-tapes.
Right.
So yeah, so we I auditioned online, and then I was not expecting to get this role, or even when I was signing up, filling the form, I was okay with playing the extra role or any supporting role, anything in this film. Just wanted to be part of this because I saw before auditioning, I saw Zarar's work, his short films, and I was very interested in how his cinematography, his story, and all of that. So I was already in, you can say that. So like I remember I told my mother that uh, मुझे extra तो मिल जाएगा, which means I will get an extra role, don't worry. And so yeah, so I was already very intrigued. And then we did a second audition, was on Zoom, and then it was then, the rest is history, and I'm here played my, yeah.
And for you, Bakhtawar, how did you become involved with the project?
Hi. So I had done Razarar's short Dia in 2018, and this film is kind of I wouldn't say that it's exactly the same story, but the main idea of In Flames came from Dia, and it was a 24-minute short, and I had a great time doing it. It was well received. Wherever it went to festivals. And then Zara told me in 2019, no, actually before that, that I plan to make a feature film based on it, and you'll be part of it. So, and the rest is just that we kept talking about it, and then we were supposed to shoot in 2020, end of 20 or 21, but then COVID happened, and then we just kept in touch on Zoom because he was here in Canada and I was in Pakistan. But I was a part of the whole process from the beginning, and we had so many conversations and all. So I just that is why I feel I mean a very deep attachment with the film, because when you see, it's like that you see your child grow up, and then you just have been there, from the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, you like I think having that foundation in doing the short film really helped you to really, I think, connect to the character of Faria, but also I think give her a lot of depth needed for a character like this, because she's a character that I think is very interesting, where she has a very solid character arc. Like, she grows from being a woman who isn't sure of herself. She doesn't have as much self-confidence, like her father has passed on, and she's finally thrust into the position of being in charge of a household fully for the first time, and she's trying to assert her authority in a house where she never had any before.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in the kitchen which I think is a really important scene between Faria and Miriam, where she's saying, I'm the mother of this house.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm the mother of this house. And Miriam is like, but are you? And she's doing
Yeah.
it not because she's weird, not because she's being rude, but because she's like, I've never seen you take up the mantle of being not only a mother but being a household leader. And it shows that for even someone as old as Faria, she's now learning herself what it means to be an adult, what it means to have authority, what it means to have control. And I want you to talk a bit about have about a character who goes from having no control to doing something where it seems like an under control moment. The scene at the beach house, I'm not going to spoil it, but it seems like she's not thinking rationally, but she's being very calm. And she's like, I'm fully in control of what I'm doing. I'm making a very conscious effort and decision of this choice. And she has this really strong character arc where you see this woman grow into being a woman on screen. So talk a bit about that.
I'm so glad you said all those things. Not many people have noticed it.
Mm.
Um, she thinks that she is the mother, so that is why she should have authority to make decisions. But the daughter is much more. I mean, she is wiser. She has gone through more, and she's a child of today's world. She understands it better. And this mother has been sheltered by her father most of the time, most of her age. And she, having had a very bad traumatic past, she never had to actually make her own decisions. And but she has a very big baggage from past trauma that she never dealt with. It has just it's been left there without having to actually get it treated or looked into. um, Now the first phase for Faria is to again allow herself to be led by a male family person, the uncle. And when she fails miserably, then again she does all the Molvi, the religious thing, blah, blah, blah. And even when she, against her own self respect and self esteem, goes to the lawyer and puts on that makeup and all that, she is trying to make decisions in a very wrong way. She doesn't know what to do. It's like somebody's drowning and they're doing everything other than the right thing, how to get out of water. She's just doing everything else. um, but yes, you're right. The moment when she after that lawyer scene, she sits down and thinks for the first time. She sits down, she thinks about things and realizes that she needs to have a communication with her daughter. And there's a very, very important dialogue, where she goes that whatever it is, whatever you have done, you can tell me.
Mm.
I think that was a point when the relationship changes and when Faria as a person changes. So for me to understand those points, for me to understand those moments was very, very important. And
Yeah.
I think Zarar helped tremendously a lot, not just as a director, but when he was writing and we were discussing the script, we went through those conversations. He just kind of guided me, the transitions. And having seen all those women in my life, all my life, surrounded by all sorts of women, I exactly knew who to play, who to take as my reference when she's being naive and docile and just following, and who to understand when she's going through the transition, and when she's taking her daughter to the Malvi for the you remember that scene also. Yeah.
Yeah. That
So
scene that grossed me out.
yeah, so every time I had somebody I've known in my life as a reference point,
Yeah.
because I've seen all those women.
Yeah,
And
and they are very familiar. They are very familiar to me too. And like I myself have had to have my own transition going from being very shy and introverted to being more open and outspoken. And the scene with Miriam, like the one you're talking about, where she went to see, I guess you could say, like the faith healer. That scene grossed me out because the whole licking of the hand, that was just gross to me, period. But I thought that was an interesting scene because it showed how for these two characters, there's so much going on beneath the surface for both of them, but they're only looking around and seeing the facade that they're both put on. For Miriam in that moment, she's imagining this man in a way assaulting her and like licking her hand and making her feel super uncomfortable. But then there's also in a way like the scene with you were talking about the lawyer where Faria is experiencing something very uncomfortable for herself as well, but Miriam has no idea what's happening. You know, she has no idea what's happening when she's not there. So I think that's a really interesting dynamic between the two characters, and a very interesting parallel, because like we don't know everything that our parents experience. You know, we don't know everything that happens to them unless they tell us, you know, unless we ask our mothers, what was this experience you had, we will never know. And unless they offer that information, we'll never know. And for you, Ramesha, like Miriam is kind of like, I kind of see her as almost a flip side of Faria, whereas Faria, she went from being more docile, as you said, Bakhtawar, to being more assertive and in control. Whereas Miriam, she went from having like being assured, like, you know, she's in college, she's going to school, she has this education, she's in a way had more control in the household than her mom because she looked after the finances and stuff. But then because of what happened with Assad, she starts to lose herself mentally. You know, she becomes very hyper vigilant. She starts to see things that no one else is seeing, you know, and she kind of like falls away from who she was. So she kind of did a reversal of what Faria was at the beginning. And then at the end, I love how Sarar made both of them come to a point where they were both on equal footing. You know, they were both stood on in line together. But I want you, Ramesha, to talk about doing that, the evolution of the character of Miriam, because I thought that was a brilliant way to show how for young women as well, the situations that we encounter in our life messes with our mental health, and it messes with our self-confidence.
Yeah, like in the beginning, Mariam has everything figured out. She's in control. She's taking care of everyone, even the younger brother and even the mom, right? She's taking care of the household. Like after whatever happened in her childhood, even that trauma, she kind of she didn't slip away with that, right? And after what happened with Assad and what happened with something like that was something very close to her. That was something, you know, she really thought that this is going to actually give her that, you know, hope, and it was her first love, and it's all of that, right? So she's, when it was very sad, it's very sad, and it's very like I don't know, to see that how she loses kind of control. She's trying to be in control, but she cannot. She just cannot. She's losing control again and again. So I really like that at the end they both kind of starting out fresh, you know. Yes, it's a fresh start from the mom and fresh start for Maria. So with each other and overall as a person as well. So that, yeah, like the circumstances, to be in that kind of like mentally, even if we don't look at it with a horror perspective, we look at it mentally, it's like PTSD, and someone going through that and not being able to talk about it, like just keeping it all in with herself because she has no one else to, because she has to be strong. Like there was this thing that she has to be strong. She cannot let herself down. She cannot, you know, it's like if one thread, we pull out this one thread, everything is going to fall. So it's kind of, it was very sad, but it was also very important to get those, you know, that conversation to start. Okay, we should have conversations at our houses, and mother daughter should have that kind of relationship, because we have in her, like, it's a woman experience at the end, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree, because the thing is like what also I think really fascinates me about this film is how the not mental instability, I don't want to say, but like the trauma, like the PTSD that you mentioned, and it started from years before, manifesting them very differently. I saw it in Miriam, it manifests in her closing down. She was shutting down, but also she was having like the panic attacks. You know, she was having the asthma attacks where she couldn't breathe. And a lot of that, I think I kind of saw it as the fact that she couldn't breathe was because she's fighting to speak, but she doesn't know how to speak to her mom. You know, she has someone that she should be able to trust, but she can't. She thinks she can't trust her mother. She thinks she can't speak to her mom. So all of that is playing with her psychologically, but also physically. And it shows like how how PTSD does have physical symptoms, you know, and not just PTSD, but just like holding on to secrets can destroy us internally. And I think, and for Faria, what I saw her trauma manifesting as is that we spoke a bit about the insecurities. I kind of saw her insecurity as a man, as a manifestation of her own trauma with regards to not only her father, but what happened with the husband before, you know, and like she became, there's moments where Bakhtawar, you play her, is almost childlike, where she seems like she's not just insecure, but she has almost these moments where she's like a child who's not sure what she can say and what she should do, you know. Like I mentioned the scene in the kitchen, and that scene to me came off as like a child trying to play dress up, trying to play adult. And like she's not believable as a mother because she has that childlike sense of like, I'm not sure what being an adult means, you know. And I saw that as a symptom of her own trauma, you know. And like ish, and then there's the son who's like younger than Miriam, but she doesn't really interact with him, you know. She tells him to do things and he gets up and does it, but she doesn't tell him to do it assertively. And I thought, like, again, this film is a really interesting show about male and female dynamics, because as a boy, like everything that's happening doesn't affect him. He has no clue what's happening in his sister and his mother's lives. And that's very common around the world, not just in Pakistan, but that's, I think, a symptom of patriarchy, where men and young boys are sheltered from the things happening in the lives of their female relatives and the women in their lives. So, but I think Assad is kind of like Assad is kind of like supposed to be the antithesis of who the little brother is, but he kind of takes it in the opposite way, because he comes into the story and he wants to be. I told Zarar that he saw himself as like a knight in shining armor. You know, Assad is like, I'm gonna come in and rescue her. I'm gonna go and confront these men. And I'm like, you don't know anything about this country. You don't know with regards to like how it works culturally, and like how him trying to be a knight in shining armor in this situation is placing Miriam in more danger potentially, you know. And then there's the other character of Salim, played by Mohammed, where he seems like a knight in shining armor. He comes to her when he really needs her, and then it's like, you can't really trust these men, you know. And I want you both, as I want you both to talk about the male and female dynamics in this film, because I think that's where to me, that's where like the writing, but also your portrayals really show, because you're really showing how for women and young girls in patriarchal societies, we really have no one else but ourselves to really trust and to hold on to, you know. Because even the men who seem like they're our heroes, they could be like not really being heroes for us, but to make themselves feel better, you know.
Yeah. I agree with that. With like Asad and Mariam dynamic is very much like that. Whenever she's in trouble, he tries and come in to save her, and then suddenly she takes control. She's like, I can handle, I can handle this better than you. So
Yes.
yeah, there has been moments. I feel like he did come in as a very a boy from um Canada who thinks like his mind is different. He can be an ally. We do need allies. There's no like that's not there's not denial in that we do need allies. But that was like she is strong enough to take care of herself. With that, he tried to come and power that. And so yeah, this character, the Omar Javed, he played the character Asad. He played it very like you almost like him, kind of like unsure of what's going on with him. Are we supposed to like him? Are we not supposed to like him? And the other character Salim, I think with Mariam, she knew that she cannot trust Salim, the rickshaw driver, because when he first came in, she says, "No, I cannot. Maybe I'll think about it." So that's her not trusting the man.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and with our Nasir Chacha, who is trying to be this, when women need protection, and so men are going to come in and provide that protection in, but they are, he's kind of taking over everything. I feel like I'm spoiling the film.
No, trust me, because I like seeing that doesn't really tell anything about what happens because so much happens in this film.
Yeah. But
I think in our society, we have given those roles, especially in
I think there are
Pakistan.
different rules, yeah.
No, we've given the roles of gatekeeper to a man. We have given the role of peacemaker to a man. We've given the role of the driving person driving seat to a man. The bread earner to a man. The wife abuser is a man. And also protector is a man. And then somebody you can trust with your finances and with your property and everything, that is also a man. And then somebody who can actually make you happy, the person who is supposed to give you happiness in life and make sense of your life, is also a man. Why would we do that? Why would we want this one person or couple of people in your life who are going to solve all problems?
Yeah.
And those are the people who are the most privileged people in the society, especially in Pakistan society. Being a man is a privilege, absolute privilege, full stop. So here the thought that we carve our own path rather than following a path that has been given to us.
Yeah.
At the end, the mother realizes, the daughter knew it from in the beginning, that I have to fight my own fights and find a way out of it. This, but later on, she also tries to find her happiness and escape in man. And when that fails, then she doesn't know what to do. Then she because there's a trauma, big trauma, and so she, in the end, when they come together to solve a problem, and I don't want to give spoilers, but whatever they do, I think that is the beautiful moment in the film, because that's when we decide that we do not need all those characters or those roles played out by men for us. We can be the protectors, we can be the breadwinners, we can be the we can decide our own destinies, I think. And also the generational thing, the lack of communication between two generations, a lack of trust in each other, because that was a lack of trust of Mariam in her mom that led to so many problems, and her mother's inability to see her, inability to communicate with her, not just her but her son also, inability to be a responsible parent because she's so caught up with a job, with pleasing chacha, pleasing other people. So she's a people pleaser. She had to actually leave that behind to be a good mother. And I think there's so many things. This, I love the script because it has so many things for each one of us to think about and to learn from.
Yeah, you mentioned the generations, and that's important because Miriam being younger, and this happens like throughout time, but I think it's more prominent now in our current time where for younger people, we think because we have all of the technology and we understand how the technology works and we have all of this knowledge where where more girls are being able to go to university and to study and do all of these things like Miriam is, that we know better than our elders, and we think that we have more world experience because the world is more open to us, but that's not necessarily always the case, because some things in society, no matter how progressive we've become, hasn't changed. Really, talking about patriarchy is still the same as it was 50, 60, 200 years ago, like men expecting to run households is still a thing in our societies, and like you have mothers who still shelter their sons and don't talk to their sons about what's happening in their lives. There's mothers who don't tell their sons about how to be allies, like you mentioned before. Like there's a difference and that's the thing where like Assad, he's supposed to be a good ally, but he doesn't understand that being an ally means standing next to rather than in front of.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of mothers who don't teach their sons that that's what allyship is, how to be supportive of their female siblings or even the girls that they go to school with. They don't say, if you see this happening, this is how you stand up for someone who needs help, but you also watch how they're moving, let the person guide you and show you. Like the scene again with Assad and the car and Miriam, like Miriam is trying to tell him how to do it, but he's trying to assert his own dominance in that moment. And he thinks by doing this that he's being a good ally, but he's not, because a part of being a good ally is listening and paying attention and following cues, and he doesn't do that. And I think in a sense for Faria, she is like, she's at the beginning, she's missing these same cues that Miriam is throwing out and showing, I'm in distress, help me. Like when she starts to lose time and she's not going to school, like these are all signs that Miriam is throwing out to her mom, like, I need help, I need you to like assert and like listen to me and come and stand next to me and think. But Faria, she gets there. Faria, I love that Faria gets there and that she gets there on her own. I love that she begins to really pay attention. And the reason she gets there on her own is because she realizes that she needs support from Miriam as well. She realizes that even though she's a mother, she still needs support from her daughter. So I want you to talk about just about the film. I think the film is the film talks a lot about trauma and PTSD, but I think it also talks about what being a good ally and being a good support system within a family is like, and what that means. So Bakhtawar, you can go first.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
No, I think like the film is very much about trauma and PTSD and secrets, but I think it's also about showing how within families there's a need for having a good support system, and like what makes a family really work is having communication and having a good support system. And I think for Miriam, she was a support system for her mom at the beginning, but then close to the end, it was Faria that had to come in and be a support system for her own daughter. So I want you to talk about the film being, I think, about building community within a family, because you think that because they're family, it would be a given, but not necessarily so, because all families don't operate as like being supportive for each other.
Yeah. So I'm going to divide it into things. Support from your family and siblings, and then support from women around you. So in a society like Pakistan, it's inevitable. You cannot survive without having that support. For example, a girl falls in love for the first time. She's not going to go out and tell anyone, but maybe a cousin, maybe a sister, maybe a class fellow. Similarly, if she gets in any trouble, be it harassment, be it educational problem, she's going to come to her grandmother or mother or an aunt. So in order to have a well-oiled system, machine, Pakistan has learned it, or I said subcontinent has learned it a long time back, that you have to rely on support, female support around you. Having said that, this hierarchy in family, that I'm just because I'm the mother, I'm the elder one, I'm the older, I'm the family head or something, that kind of blinds you. That takes your focus away from the actual picture or the goal. That in order to get there, you need to go together and not always feel the need to lead and be the right one. That because I'm older, because I'm mother, so I must be the right person here. I must be the best decision maker here. Sometimes you need to understand that a daughter who has had maybe better education or less of a trauma in life till then can make a clearer decision, a better decision for you. So I think this film also teaches you that. Someone, and at this point was brought up by a friend who's like 10 years older than me. And she said that, I learned that sometimes you really need to put your guards down and let your younger one take the lead. On the other hand, I think we should start doing the same support and understanding and communication with siblings. For example, a brother is brother, but at the same time, he also understands and knows you better than anyone around you because you come from the same system. So open communication with them also is very, very important. Mm-hmm. So I think if the film has started a conversation about that, very good.
Ramesha, we can wrap it with you answering the question.
I can, the same question?
Yeah, from your perspective of playing the daughter within the situation, but also from your perspective as like the younger quote unquote generation in like Pakistan and in the film.
I think it is very important to have conversations at home. Like it needs to start from your house, then it can go outside, then you can go outside and do the same for others, right? You have to have an open ear and you have to be able to talk as well. It's hard, the kind of system we are in, the kind of, you know, the also the culture we come from. It's not very open. It's not very, you're not allowed to be open about some things. Like if I fall in love with a boy, exactly, I cannot go up to directly up to my mother and be like, okay, this is going on or something. If something happens in that life, and like in my dating life or something, I cannot go up to my mother and talk about it. Or so it's also like anything happens that's outside of the house, like to me or to anyone, it is not necessarily that I'm going to come home and talk about it. Like if I, you know, it's very important for parents to have that open heart and open ears for their children, and to guide them. At least if you, it's also like bothers me, like why are you not listening? Why is no one listening? Why is no one open to listen? When you listen, you are able to solve a problem. When you listen, you're able to help someone, right? You're able to help your child better. I think, yeah, this is very, like, from my perspective as a young woman in, like, in the kind of society and the culture I come from, it is very important to, you know, to talk, to have a conversation and listen. Yeah.
Great. I agree with both of you completely. Like communication is key, and that's something I myself need to work on better. But yeah, communication is key, and I love the performances that you both that you gave us, Ramesha. Like for your first major film role, kudos to you, and Bakhtawar. Like I love how you played Fari, and you made her so complex and so deep, and like she's an inspiration, I think, as a character because she has such a great arc. You know, like she becomes a hero. You know what? They both become the hero in their own stories. They don't.
Yeah, they
And
both help each other in the end. They're heroes to each other.
yeah, they become their heroes in their own stories. And I think that's the most important thing I think about the film. So thank you so much, both of you, for
Thank
joining me
you.
today.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having us.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thanks.